Welcome, everyone, to a very special edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. This is our year end edition, and Matt Phillips is joining me from his
Hey
wonderfully
guys,
decorated room downstairs. Dan, what do you call it? Dan?
this is our family room with where the '80s Christmas exploded everywhere. So
Awesome. Awesome. And, hope everybody had a great Christmas. We certainly did here. And so still feeling a little bit festive. So, Matt, we talked about this. This is our year end episode. So we're going to count down what we feel to be our top 10 albums that came out this year in 2023. Not a bad year for new music.
oh, fantastic year for music. I
Yeah.
was glad you were able to stretch it to a full 10. So this is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's been a while for me since I've been able to do that. But yeah, a lot of great stuff. So let's get it going. Let's start off with your number 10.
All right, Tim. Now my bottom two are, I would say, I like far less than the rest of the list, but I still somewhat enjoyed these albums. But we had to make a full 10, and these definitely fit. So coming in at number 10 is one of, I think, Will's favorite albums of the year. This is Avenged Sevenfold with "Life Is But a Dream." Quite a spare, like, cover for them. Usually they're known for having quite illustrated, colorful works. This is just on it feels like just cardboard, and it's very black and white. I believe this one I got is like a special Walmart edition cover. So there's a few different variations on this. They always have some kind of bat wings and a skeleton kind of motif going on. But essentially this runs the gamut of all the metal stuff and the industrial stuff done. It's quite a lot to take in. I don't sit down and listen to these tracks individually. Um, I think they've released the song Mattel and maybe Game Over and Nobody. They did videos for these, and they're really strange. Uh, the really cool stuff on this album, though, are the last four songs. It spells out God. You've got G, is a song named G, an ordinary death, and then Life Is But a Dream. It's kind of like a suite of songs at the end of the album, kind of to tie the concept together. And I know they've been playing those as part of their encore in their live show. So I'm curious to see how that goes over with fans. But yeah, this latest album from Avenged Sevenfold, as weird as it is, it finally grew on me and cracked my top 10 for 2023.
Cool. My number 10 is one that surprised me. It surprised me when I found out that it was coming out because this is a band I didn't think was doing any more albums. And I really didn't have big expectations for it, but it ended up being quite good. And Crash and I did a video on it. It's Dokken, Heaven Comes
Oh,
Down. And out of nowhere, Don Dokken announced that, yeah, we're going to do one last album. And, Don's vocals had been, not great over the years, but he's been able to sound good in the studio, and they came up with a pretty decent collection of songs. Like, if it sounds like I'm not recommending it, I really am. It's just I'm really surprised. Like, there's great guitar playing on here from John Levin, and yeah, I had no idea that Dokken would put a new album out and that it would make a top 10 list for me. So Dokken When Heaven, or not When Heaven Comes Down, that's a song, but Heaven Comes Down is the album.
right on. Tim, my number nine is a pretty decent thrash metal album. It's from one of our favorite bands. I find this one to be quite long, but this is Metallica's latest album, 72 Seasons. To be honest, as a graphic designer, I actually kind of like the packaging theme of it more than the album itself. I know some fans really don't like this kind of super bright yellow and this, there's no cool Metallica logo on the front. It's very sparse, but I just love this package, how they've done all the die cutting with the photos of the band members. You can pull out the records and it shows different faces and that sort of thing. So the record itself, though, I'm not sure what you thought about it, but I love the first single. Was it Lux Eterna that came out?
Yeah,
The
that came
first
out way
album?
early, like
Yeah.
over a year ago.
But I do find Again, I don't listen to this very often. I don't usually put it on. I'll put it on to listen to some more of the tracks, but I find it just. I made a funny joke earlier this year to you guys and said I was in my office kind of resting and I had this album on my headphones and I fell asleep, and I wasn't joking. I actually fell asleep listening to Metallica. So
More on that later. My number nine is this band actually put out two albums this year, which is pretty amazing. This is the first of them that came out. Deke and I reviewed this. It's Rival Sons and Dark Fighter. So the next one that came out was Lightbringer, but this is the first one, and they're very similar sounding albums, but it's just Rival Sons. It's bluesy rock, and I'm not sure how these guys sell. They're on Atlantic, they're on a major label, but they haven't really done an album I haven't liked. This cover, you're talking about cover art. When I first looked at this, I thought it was a snake. I thought it was like a cobra, like the way that, but it's it's like a tiger with like one paw reaching out, and Lightbringer is kind of the same thing in yellow. It's a little bit harder to read actually, but yeah, another solid album from Rival Sons. My number nine.
all right. My number 8 is an album I kind of wish was a little higher on my list. I do think this is probably my favorite album of theirs. This is the Winery Dog, their third album, just titled Three. I think this one came out pretty early in the year, like way back in February. Of course, it kicks off with Xanadu. I mean, what a strange title for a song by the Winery Dogs, but I love Richie's lyrics in this one, and I think it's a pretty solid album. It's not too long like their first two. The first two ones were fairly long, so this one's a little more condensed, only 10 tracks, but that's my number 8.
All right, my number 8 is the latest album from another fairly new band that I happen to like, and that would be Greta Van Fleet with Starcatcher. Dark Fighter, Starcatcher, Lightbringer, very confusing. Now, I'm not a fan of the packaging at all. I think whatever packaging you have should be on the album itself, not online. But it's just another solid album. I listened to it again just today, and I really like it. It's just more if you don't like Greta Van Fleet previously, you won't like them now. I think there's some interesting like photography inside the booklet. We talked about this when we reviewed it, but there's no credits. Credits are all online. I think put your credits on the album, guys. If you're going to have anything extra online, have pictures. But no, I guess the only thing is I would like it if they would do a few more songs like Runway Blues, faster stuff. They kind of go for the slow to mid tempo as far as writing songs in, but great riffs, great guitar playing, great vocals, and hopefully this band pumps out 10 more albums in 10 more years, and we just keep having new music to talk about. So that's my number 8.
All right, my number 7 is probably the longest title on everybody's list. This is Jason Bieler, second album from his Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra. The entire title is Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra, Postcards from the Asylum. I actually have a signed version here. This is all the crazy, wacky stuff that you would expect from Jason. I really love track. Let's see here. Track 7 is one of the first. So what Jason does actually, he'll release little parts of, or actually like full songs on his Bandcamp. He's really heavy on Bandcamp. He'll release bits of songs. You'll hear kind of what's coming up on his next album. So the first one he put out was a song on here, number 7, called Sick Riff, and it's just as crunchy as you can imagine. My favorite song on here, though, is number 4, Mexico. It's like an acoustic-y kind of, basically the world is kind of screwed up and frig all this, and I want to jump the wall to Mexico and buy some drugs and forget it all. And just anyway, he's a funny character. I did want to mention, though, I went to Boston earlier this year. It's been quite a few years to see one of their festivals, Boston Calling, and I was so gutted to find out that at the same night Jason Bieler and F. Scott Soda were playing. We had just driven for 8 hours, and under any other circumstance would have gone to see that show, but Yeah, so number 7 is Jason Bieler's latest solo album.
So the next one is something that I don't normally buy. I don't always follow solo albums from people and bands that I like, but I made an exception. My number 7 is the latest from Steve Lukather,
Oh,
and
okay.
called Bridges. Now, this album is a Toto album by
Oh, really?
any other name. Uh, Legally, it has something to do with Jeff Porcaro's estate. They can tour using the name Toto. They can't record under the name. So this album is basically Toto personnel. Steve does sing all the songs, but there have been Toto albums where he sung all the songs before too. David Paich is on here. Joseph Williams is on here. Simon Phillips, Lee Sklar, Shannon Forrest. These are all names that have been in Toto. Like every single one of these songs is a slightly different lineup, I think. But every one could be a potential Toto lineup. So, this is a Toto album in all but name. It's melodic rock, great guitar playing as usual. It's not a very long album. It's only got 8 songs on it. They're kind of long songs. And I was really interested to check it out, hearing him talk about it. And I listened to it. I'm like, yeah, this could be the follow-up to the Kingdom of Desire album or the Tamboo album. And I really like it. So that's my number 7.
That's an interesting artwork on the cover too.
Yeah, Doug Brown, I think, is the name behind it. And the artwork continues into the CD booklet too. Like there's some, let me show you here. There's some different kind of graphics. Well, there's the back cover.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming that would be the back cover of the record, but it's got this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, really different, but yeah, good stuff. I mean, if you're a Toto fan and you like, I don't have any of Steve's other albums. I can't speak to whether I'm sure they're good, but this one was really intriguing to me because it's essentially a Toto album because of the personnel on it.
My number 6 is a record that I actually thought would completely drop off my radar from an artist we both absolutely love. Heard the first couple of tracks. I watched the videos. They did some little animated videos for it, and I was like, oh, this is really cheesy. I don't know if I'm going to get into this at all, but number 6 is Cooper's The Road. This one came out, I guess, in September, and I bought this. So this version has the CD and the Blu-ray with it. The Blu-ray package is a live concert from Hellfest of 2022. So current band. I mean, this current band smoke like lot as tight as can be because they've been together for quite a while. But talking about The Road itself, I didn't like these songs so much on in the context of the album, though. This is actually my favorite road trip album. I've got somewhere along to go. I just put it on. It's silly enough and easy enough to sing along to. It goes right from talking about introducing the character of Alice, and then the first song's I'm Alice, and then Welcome to the Show is sort of like, you created me thing. I'm all over the world. He's talking about the musicians on here. He's talking about the roadies. So on Big Boots, he's talking about well, we won't get into that. Okay, so Rules of the Road. I mean, it's all, Road Rats Forever. And then it ends with Magic Bus, which I thought was kind of an interesting cover. But no, man, I actually ended up really enjoying this record, despite all the cheese. And I can see, though, how a lot of these songs sounded like sort of sound checky riff things. And then once Bob Ezrin got a hold of it and kind of worked it around and did something fresh with it.
So, spoiler alert, that's not on my list.
Yeah.
I did buy it, and Mike Meadis, the Alice Cooper collector, and I reviewed the album, and we both kind of felt the same way. It had some decent songs on it, but it's got stuff like you mentioned, Big Boots, which is just ridiculous. Third time around for doing a version of Road Rats. I don't understand. And the cover of Magic Bus, even though it's good, it doesn't fit. And yeah, some of the concept is just a little bit too on the nose. And I don't know. I guess if there was a number 11, it might have been number 11. But I'll support Alice. I want to hear his new collaborating with Desmond Child. I want to hear another Trash, another Hey Stupid. I think he's got one of those in him. So didn't make my list, but it's Alice, right? It's So my number 6 is the fifth album and the second, I guess, in the comeback era from this band that kind of relaunched in 2020. And I was very happy, but it's a completely different band than the 80s, except for its namesake guitar player. And that is Vandenberg with their latest album, Sin. Once again, Adrian Vandenberg provides the artwork. What does it have to do with the title? I have no idea. Sharks are also on the cover of the second album, Heading for a Storm. I really like Adrian's artwork. This time around, he has a different singer than last time. Last time was Ronnie Romero. Some disagreements there. He's got Mats Levin, who's been with a number of different groups, but another 9-song album. He likes the 9-song album format, and I really like all of these songs. So I was not disappointed when I found out this was coming out. That's my number 6. So now we're to the top 5 for 2023.
Yeah. Top 5, you've already talked about this one. This one really grew on me too, and actually quite a bit for the sound of the record. Number 5 is Greta Van Fleet's Starcatcher. I just got the CD at first and then managed this sort of Walmart exclusive version on vinyl. What can I say about Starcatcher? It doesn't overstay its welcome. I do get what you're saying about a lot of the sort of mid-tempo songs, and track 5 on here, Runaway Blues, just right back in the middle of the album. You think they're gonna start revving things up, and it's kind of just like a little tease. I really like the sound of this record. It's got a very live feel. Like I would say like they recorded it live together in a room. I don't think they did, but I don't think it's my favorite Greta Van Fleet album, but I do really like the sound. The bass is just really in your face on this one. Like it has that kind of, when you're at a show and you're waiting for the to come on and things to heat up, and that bass sound that you hear. And that's what this one reminds me of. So yeah, that's my number 5, Starcatcher.
So my number 5 is the second new album in a couple of years by a band that hadn't done an album in quite a while. And so I was excited, when I found that this was coming out. Yes. And their latest album, Mirror to the Sky. Once again, Roger Dean artwork. You can't really go wrong with Roger Dean artwork. It's always cool and spacey. And this is actually the first album that Alan White doesn't play on because he passed away. So it's Jay Shellen, who used to be in the band Hurricane. He's been their on-stage drummer for a long, long time. This is the first album that he's fully played on. And it's not too long. And the CD actually has more songs on it, because the CD, like their last album, The Quest, has a bonus disc with 3 extra songs that aren't really tied to the album. And I think those 3 extra songs are better than the 3 extra songs that were on The Quest. So a lot of longtime fans, as longtime fans like to do, they're complaining. They're saying it's not a legitimate Yes lineup and this and that. But I just listen to the music and I like it. And that became my number 5 for the year.
Nice. Finally getting to get some Canadian content for me. At number 4, I have Crown Lands with their latest album called Fearless. This one features basically an East Canadian band. And I saw them a few times live before actually getting into the music. So I would say I really officially got into Lands in 2023. I have to thank Jex for this. They weren't on my radar at all till he mentioned the band and shared videos. We got to see them live at some, but wow, Fearless starts off with Starlifter, just in kind of Rush style. It has broken down into, what is this, 6, 7, 8, 9 segments of a big epic. I think it's at least 11 or 13 minutes long, and it's basically like an ode Rush's 2112 kind of style. So the entire album is fantastic. This is one that I really do want to try and find on vinyl. I bought the CD, just the thing I bought from the band, and I was a little cautious. And now I wish I'd found, they put out a limited edition rotoscoped vinyl with it does an effect. Anyway, if I can find that, I'll pick it. This snuck all the way into my number 4. It's a fantastic album.
Yeah, I got to check that band out more. I mean, I did listen to part of that Starlifter song, and it's total late '70s Rush. So you got to like that. So my number four is an album that Matt already mentioned. We did a review episode of it. I evidently like it much more, but it is the Winery Dogs 3. Really like this album a lot. And I guess the way I can describe it is that I don't like it as much as the second album, but I like it a lot more than the first album. I think it's song oriented. Yeah, I'm just looking down through the song titles. Great songs on here. I love Pharaoh. I think that's a great one. Breakthrough is great. It's all good. It's all really good. And I was glad they got back together and put a new album out. The second band that Mike Portnoy returned to in 2023. More to follow next year, I'm sure. That's my number four.
So we're getting very close. My top one and two are always going to be one and two, leaving the third. This was definitely going to be my record, or my top three. This is Noel Gallagher's latest solo album. Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. This is Council Sky. So this is basically referring to what they call in the UK the council states, or the underprivileged kind of people, like we would say, living on welfare, living on the dole. So it's a very stark package, and the music itself is pretty chill. This is another one where I didn't really think I was going to get into this record, and it just grew on me and grew on me. And I played the first few songs. I'm Not Giving Up Tonight, Pretty Boy, Dead to the World. I play this a lot. Um, you know, there's been a lot of talk, at least in the last year, Noel and Liam getting back together, but at least we have both really good albums. So Liam put out one not too long ago, and this is Noel's latest. Made my number three.
So as a big Oasis fan, Matt, do you find that their solo albums kind of scratch that itch for you for new music, or is it just not
Yes,
quite the same as a new Oasis album would be?
it isn't. No, it isn't quite the same, but you do get. Whereas Noel wrote most of their music early on, and still, Liam contributed, and some of their newer guys contributed. You do get a lot more of his stuff, and I do find that they're working with different producers and songwriters, so it is a little bit different than just Noel writing all of it. But for an Oasis fan, just having Noel's lyrics and his voice on his stuff, and Liam's doing his thing, that's enough. Yeah.
Cool. So my number three, I know we'll be hearing from Matt on this. Top three, I got to say, were really tough because they're all excellent. But my number three is Extreme Six, a band that we, basically all of us here on TVC are big fans of, and we're like, where's the new album? Where's the new album? Where's the new album? Finally, in 2023, we got this, and we reviewed it, and we had a very funny episode that started off with Jackson Will talking about it, and then Matt and I, and it's like we weren't even talking about the same album. I still think to this day that they really top loaded it with like the heavy, fast songs. Maybe could have been sequenced a little bit different, but I love this album. I love the fact that it charted well, and Extreme were back in the mainstream again, and there was a lot of talk, a lot of buzz on the album. I'm not sure how it's sold, but nobody sells albums anymore. But yeah, really glad to have them back, and that's my number three for this year.
All right, and I actually made a last minute switcheroo here. Just before we started this video, I've been back and forth on these two records. Which one's going to be first? Which one's going to be second? I am going to go with Extreme as my number two. I managed to find a vinyl version of this. I think you have one or two of this on vinyl.
Somehow I ended up getting it twice. Yeah.
Yes. I sort of agree with everyone saying it's kind of top loaded. They do have their kind of more quirky stuff on the bottom half of the album, but there's nothing on here that I dislike anymore. Whereas the first time I heard the X Out or Thicker Than Blood kind of threw me off. But no, I really dig this album, and I will say it is the one piece of music, Banshee. That riff is one thing that I actually learned on guitar this year, so really loved playing along to that. Can't
Yeah.
wait for stream. I hope we don't have to wait like another 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, yeah, surely. So my number two is an album you've already mentioned. Well, it's Metallica, 72 Seasons. I love this album. I've listened to it a lot. And I don't know, I can't fault it for anything. And it's weird. It is a long album. It's undoubtedly a long album. It tends to fly by for me. I like every song on here. I think James Hetfield sounds fantastic for 60, you know. The funny story is that, when Lux Eterna first came out, there was like, oh, that's AI. And it's like,
Yeah.
anyway, I think it's a well produced album. It's Greg Fidelman or whoever, however you pronounce his name. I think he's produced their last few albums. I think it sounds good.
What are your
Yeah,
favorite tracks?
I really like Chasing Light.
Yeah.
Really like that one. I really like the last song, Inamorata. Shadows
Funny,
Follow.
I just went to pull my CD copy, and of course, songs aren't written on
The CD, I will say, the CD packaging is very unwieldy. It's very hard to get into. Yes, and they did put it out on cassette. But yeah, that's I can't, I think that, people that were slamming this album, I think they're just done with Metallica, and I'm not. So it's my number two for the year.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure our number one records are going to be the same. So why don't we do like a 3-2?
I would say so, because I will say this. The funny thing is that my top four all have numbers in the title.
Oh, that's right.
So whereas, yeah, we might as well hold them. They've got to be the same. We've been talking about this all year long. Our collective number one album for 2023,
Yay.
Winger 7. God, I love this album. It's so good. Sorry, Will. I have listened to this easily more than any other album this year. I think this album is fantastic. Like Extreme, I wish that there was just more music. Extreme or Winger has beat Extreme by one album, but and Kip Winger has said this may be the last Winger album, but if so, they left it all on the ice. This is a great, great, great album. I love it so much. For me to pick favorites, I mean, man, I could play this whole album in my head, and it's been a long time since there's been a new album that's gotten that much play to me that I could play it in my head without listening to it. I love it.
Yeah. I have to say one of the highlights of my year was finally getting to see Kip Winger play live in May in Bangor, Maine. I was kind of hoping we'd hear some tracks, or maybe he'd be selling this out. Wasn't meant to be, but did finally pick up a vinyl version of it, and I bought the CD as soon as it came out. I think
Yeah, I mean, to
final,
have Extreme and Winger back is a big deal, right?
yeah.
So there, yeah, that's it. We've got some good new music came out this year. Not just veteran bands, but mostly in my case. But curious out there to what your favorite albums to come out this year have been. Matt, on your radar, I know we've talked about it a lot, but what's on your radar for 2024 for new releases that you might be picking up?
I did have a list here somewhere. I know Bruce Dickinson's working on a solo album, or I think he's probably already finished. The name escapes me, but
The Mandrake something?
Mandrake Project, yes.
Yeah.
So I've listened to the first single. It had something to do with Ragnarok. It was a pretty decent song. I know the metal fans, I think even like Martin Popoff had mentioned, he really liked the song. So I'm optimistic. I actually don't love the one everyone talks about for Bruce Dickinson is Chemical Weapon. I never bought that when it came out. I got his first two as soon as they came out, Lasso and the Tattooed Millionaire. I got into the Chemical Wedding until, I didn't hear it within the last 10 years, and I don't really love it. I kind of find it kind of sludgy and boring. But that's one. Another one would be, I guess, Sebastian Bach just released a single.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
Who else has got music coming
I
out?
mean, I'll probably have to buy it out of necessity or out of loyalty, but I mean, Ace Frehley will have a new album out. Man, boy, does Ace like to put his foot in his mouth. Regardless of what his former bandmates are doing, for him to say that his fans are smarter than Kiss fans, Ace, your fans are Kiss fans. There's no difference. I guarantee there's nobody that got into Ace with Fraley's Comet and say, yeah, I don't like Kiss, but I like Fraley's Comet. I don't
Yeah.
think that person doesn't exist. You know what I mean? But whatever.
Curious to see how that pans
plays
out.
out.
He's working with Steve Brown from Trickster on this one. I kind of have a feeling Steve's kind of really taking over the reins on that one. The songwriting might be a little different, so that'll be interesting.
There's going to be, it's been a long time coming, but it's finally been announced. The Honeymoon Suite are going to be back with a new album called Alive. It's very different. It's very pop. They've always had pop sensibilities, though. Like even their first album that's got a little bit of new wave to it. So I'm a huge fan. I'm looking forward to hearing it, and I'll be buying it. I don't know if it's going to blow me away, but hey, it seems to me that there was something else that was talked about, or it's probably so obvious that it's not going to come to me. Yeah, it's gone right out of my head. But anyway, yeah, it's always, I would love to hear, now that I'm actively a fan, I'd love to hear some new Satriani.
Yes.
I mean, he'll probably be on the road with Sammy most of the year. Would be great if they would come closer to where we are. But
and he's touring
yeah,
with Levi too.
which I mean, that's one of the highlights of 2023. We finally got to see Steve Vai in St. John of all places, and Will, having the luck of Will, basically walked a city block and met us there. Went and saw Steve Vai, walked the city block, and went home. Yeah, so hope everybody had a great year. Hope wishing everyone a happy new year. Bigger and better in 2024. And 2024 is a year that at the end of August, it'll be 10 years since Tim's Vinyl Confessions started. We'll have to do something to commemorate that. What, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's our top 10 albums for 2023. Some may agree, some may have a completely different 10. List them below. List them in the comments. We want to know. So thanks everybody out there for watching, and back with new episodes in the new year. Hope to have some very, very cool guests in the new year. More on that later. So yeah, so Matt, thanks for doing this, and we are going to celebrate New Year's very, very soon. Catch y'all later.